Hello peak performer, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. And as you can see, I'm sitting in a very different recording setting today because I thought to myself, if I'm recording a video about my backstory, not my backstory, which I could talk about that and I could do a video about that as well, but I'm literally talking about my back. I thought I could also do something a little bit more fun and a little bit more different. And I also already recorded a couple of different exercises for you for the end of the video. So if you are interested to learn a couple of different exercises that you can do at home without any type of equipment, then make sure that you're staying until the end of the video, or you are going to the end of the video right away in order to see what kind of exercises you can do in order to support your back. Okay, all right, so let's jump into today's video. Okay, so let's jump into today's video. First of all, a really important disclaimer. I am not a physiotherapist, I'm not a PT, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a chiropractor. I have no medical education in what I'm going to talk about in this video today. This is really just my own personal experience and the things that I have been learning over the last couple of years. This is really important. So if you are trying to test something out after this video, if you're doing a couple of different exercises, this is all on your own liability and your own responsibility, and I'm not liable for anything. Okay, this is really important, and I of course need to make this disclaimer in this video in order to make sure to protect myself. The reason why I'm recording this video today is because I told you on my Insta story last week that I hurt my back for the third time in 3 years. And I was really frustrated and really upset and sad. And I told you that I learned so much about this that I would love to share my knowledge with you if you are interested. And so many of you said, yes, please do a video on your back because I have back issues as well and I would love to learn about it. And some of you that are coming to my YouTube channel for the first time might be wondering why I am talking about physical exercises as a peak performance coach. And it's really clear, right? Because when we are talking about peak performance, one of the items and one of the dimensions that I'm actually covering that is part of the peak performance method is self-care, understanding yourself. And I truly believe that it is extremely important to take care not only of your physical well-being, but also of your mental well-being. You can't do one without the other and vice versa, okay? So it's super important to pay attention to your physical health just as much as your mental health when you want to be a peak performer, when you want to excel at work, when you want to excel in your life. And especially when you have a desk job, especially when you are working in an office building for 8 to 10 hours a day, or maybe nowadays you're sitting at home and you're working from home for many hours at end, then it is super important to integrate movement into that as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in my own personal story today. So let's start with, why am I still talking about physical health? Because somebody else could talk about it. I am really passionate about physical health as well. In fact, in 2012, I did a gym instructor certification. And in the last 2 years, I accumulated 400 hours of yoga teacher training certifications as well. So I do have pretty good knowledge about your physical health and well-being. And when I did my gym instructor certification in 2012, I also started to lift weights. You can see it here in the back. I love weights. I think this is super important for your physical health. It is really important to build strength. You can't just do yoga. You can't just do cardio. You have to kind of do it all. And we're going to talk about that and my challenges with that I have experienced over the last 8 years. But it is really cool and I love it. So I've been lifting weights literally from 2012 for 6 years pretty consistently. I would say 4 to 6 years pretty consistently, 5 to 6 times a week. And I did stop doing that, and that might be one of the reasons why I have been experiencing back issues. So let's move into that story. Why did I experience back issues? what happened and what did I learn. So in 2018 was the first time where I really had some really severe back issues, and I remember it really well because it was on my 31st birthday when I woke up in the morning and I could barely move because my back, my lower back especially, was so stiff and so achy that I had a really hard time moving. And I was wondering what was going on with myself because I was a really active person. In fact, at the time in 2018, I was biking to work every single day for 2 months at the time, really every day. I think I was biking around 10 to 15 miles one way each day. And so I was really active, right? I was doing a lot of cardio and I was doing a lot of yoga. But at the time, I wasn't doing any strength exercises anymore, which is already really important information to know. So in 2018 was the first time I had my back issues. And of course, I felt it and I did some movements and I saw a couple of massage therapists and I kind of went away. And you know how it is. Every time when we are experiencing something bad, but then it goes away, we don't really pay more attention to it, right? We are more in that reactive mode instead of being in a more preventive mode. And that is something that, you know, if you have been watching some of my videos as well, you know, is really close and very dear to my heart, because I do believe no matter if it is about physical health or about mental health, it is super, super important to be preventive instead of reactive. So in 2019, again, in the summertime, it's usually around the summertime that my back issues are starting to occur, because very naturally in the summertime, I am exercising more. I'm doing more things outside because the weather is better and it's just a different type of exercise, right? So I'm running, I'm biking, I'm wake surfing, I'm wakeboarding, and I'm doing yoga. Those are usually the exercises that I am doing and that I'm integrating into my day-to-day. And so last year, my back issues started to come back, but this time even more so. And I do have to admit that even from 2018 to 2019, I did feel my lower back and my lower back muscles from time to time. It didn't feel great, but I didn't really do anything about it because it wasn't bad enough that I felt like, okay, I need to pay more attention to this, right? So big mistake here. And so in 2019, I remember it really well again as well, of course, because these were really painful experiences. I was wake surfing and wakeboarding, and every time I went out, it was usually in the morning. My muscles are not warmed up. We're going into pretty cold water, even though we are maybe wearing a wetsuit, and it is pretty tough on your muscles. And if your muscles are not warmed up or really strengthened, that can cause different issues. So in 2019, last year in the summertime, my back issues started to come back, and this time a lot more severe and a lot more painful than I had ever experienced before. But I'm a super stubborn person. I do not like to take any type of medication. I do not like any painkillers. So I was just trying to push through the pain. I went to see my chiropractor, who told me that I'm okay, that my back is just a little bit stiff and I just need to keep on working out in order to make it better. And that's what I did. So I continued with HIIT training. I, of course, went outside. I walk a lot because I live here in Lake Tahoe next to the trails. I'm biking. I did yoga, all of the different things. But I do have to say as well that during that time, especially every time my back issues were the most severe, I kind of just completely stopped moving my body because I was afraid that the back pain would just become more and more severe and more painful. And so I was really torn between, should I work out, continue to move, what kind of movement is right for me? And of course, I want to do things and I want to go out and I want to spend time with my friends, because everybody here in Tahoe is really active. And if you want to hang out with your friends, that's what you're doing. You're being active, you're outside, and you're doing something fun together, either on the bike or running or all of the things. 2019 was also the year when I started my own business, the Peak Performance Method. And so I was traveling a lot, I was sitting a lot in front of my desk, which I had already been previously for the last 8 years as well, because I was working at Google and I was working a desk job, so I was sitting a lot. And on top of that, I was also commuting a lot. So not only was I sitting in front of my desk, but I was also driving a lot. And that's also really important information, because all of these pieces you will see will piece together at the end of this story and will make more sense of why I had been experiencing so much back issues. So 2019 was really the toughest year for me because I experienced so many different back issues. I always felt stiff. I always felt like I can't move without pain. And that's not really fun, right? And so I went to my chiropractor. I started to see a massage therapist, and the massage therapist, that was really wonderful, said to me, if I don't get better in 6 to 8 weeks, I should probably go and see a doctor, because she thought I definitely have some issues with my disc and I might even need an MRI in order to see what is really going on. That is how bad it was, right? And she obviously was working on me through massage techniques, through cupping, and it felt usually not better, but even worse after she worked on me because of all the soreness and the pain. And so in October 2019, I finally decided to go and see a sports surgeon, because I started to get super worried about what was going on and nobody could really help me. Nobody really knew what was going on. And I was like, okay, I just got to see a specialist and figure out what's happening. So she did a X-ray, because MRI is super expensive in America. And you need to do X-rays first before you get an MRI because of insurance reasons. So I got an X-ray, they couldn't see anything. So the surgeon said to me, I should just start to do PT for 6 to 8 weeks. And if it still doesn't get better after that, then we would do an MRI. So I went to see this PT, actually the director of the PT here in Tahoe, Truckee. And she was working on me for 2 or 3 weeks, but it just didn't get better. It almost felt worse every time she was working on me. She gave me different exercises, of course, to work on as well, but I just felt so in pain every time I was moving that I didn't really feel like moving, right? Because we are trying to just kind of protect the area that is hurting. And when something is hurting, then you don't really want to move because you're just afraid that it's going to get worse. So I was working with her, but I still wasn't really happy, and I was still thinking something else is going on. In December 2019, so at this point, we are already 6 months in of trial and error, hurting myself, getting better, hurting myself again, trying massage, going to the doctor, trying PT, but nothing really worked. And I was so frustrated because I love to move my body and I wanted to be outside, and I wanted to also spend time with my friends in all of these outdoor activities. And it was really, really painful in both ways, right? Mentally, emotionally, but of course also physically. So I found another PT and I was like, all right, I'm going to give it one last shot. And I've heard a lot of really good things about this person and I just really want to get better. So I went to her and I'm already getting a little smile on my face because she's such a wonderful person. So I was laying on her table and she was checking me out, right? Checking if all of my spine and all of the things are aligned the right way and all of these different things that they're doing, right? And I have to say as well, I'm a pretty tall person. I'm 5'11" or 1.8 meters almost. And so I'm a long person, right? I have a really long torso. I'm a tall person. And so she's starting to check me out. And I do have to say that I always experienced a really bad back pain in my lower half on my left side. So I always thought that something is going on there. And everybody that I had previously seen was always focusing on my left side. And so she is starting to check me out, this new PT. She's looking at how I'm aligned and how everything is moving and functioning in my body. And she's taking this little hammer that I'm sure that all of you have seen before. And she's hitting it first of all against my right knee, then against my left knee. And my right knee is not reacting at all. Really interestingly enough. My left knee is working as usual. And then she's going back to the right knee and she's starting to talk to me and she's like, "Did you see this, Julia?" She's like, "This is really interesting." And I said to her, "Yes, this is really interesting because my back pain is on my lower half of my body, not on my right side." And she said, "You know, Julia, sometimes you might have some symptoms on your left side, but the cause is actually from the other side." And I thought, interesting, okay. So she told me that there's a muscle, a deep-rooted or deep-seated core muscle called the psoas, which you will see here in this video that I'm blending in. The psoas muscle is located in the lower lumbar region of the spine and extends through the pelvis to the femur. This muscle works by flexing the hip joint and lifting the upper leg towards the body. A common example of the movement created from this muscle is by walking. So she said to me that she's going to release my psoas in order to help me get back in alignment and release my spine. What you have to know about the psoas is that the psoas is attached like an X. So basically your right psoas is attached to your left lower back and vice versa, which is already very interesting, right? So she put her fingers into my psoas, and it was the most painful and excruciating pain that I have, I think, ever experienced in my life. But it felt really good, and apparently it was very, very tight, because if it wouldn't be tight, it wouldn't be painful, right? So of course she was working on me, and she was, doing all these different alignments, telling me more about the psoas muscle. And literally, I kid you not, the next day I was pain-free. After 6 months of being in pain every single day, having a super tight lower back, I was pain-free, and I could not believe it. I was literally like, what is going on? I cannot believe it, because I have been in so much pain for such a long period of time. I have seen so many different people. I have spent so much money and so much time and energy and frustration about this whole situation. And here it is, the most simple answer. It's the psoas muscle. So that was literally my biggest learning from my backstory, was that sometimes we feel certain symptoms in our back because, of course, everything in our body is attached with each other, but the cause might come from somewhere else. And so my learning was that my right psoas was so tight that my left lower back was literally like kind of pulling so tightly that I started to have lots of back issues and lots of back pain. And so my PT also explained to me that it is really, really important, of course, to strengthen my lower back and to strengthen my glute muscles in order to make sure that the psoas muscle is not doing all of the work. Because at the end of the day, when your psoas muscle is doing too much work, it comes from an imbalance in your body and an imbalance of your muscles. And I do have to say, and I told you this a little bit before, I started to work out and I started to lift weights in 2012, and my back issues started in 2018, which was the first year I stopped working out and lifting weights and doing strength training as much as I did previously. So all of my muscles were starting to maybe not function and work the way they were supposed to work anymore. I was doing a lot of yoga, I was doing cardio, but I didn't do any strength training. So one of the biggest learnings was that I have to get back into strength training, that I need to strengthen my glute, that I need to strengthen, of course, my quads, so my leg muscles, and of course my core as well. But of course, I need to do it in the right way in order to make sure that everything is in balance. So over the last 7 months, I've been really focusing on getting back into the saddle, but honestly, I did not do enough strength training. I did all of the other things that felt comfortable to me and that I was in a habit to be doing at that point, right? Because for 3 years now, I have been doing yoga and I was doing cardio, and strength wasn't really part of my program anymore because I didn't really have a gym. And, at the end of the day, don't worry about it. It's all kind of excuses of why I didn't get back into strength training, because all of the different exercises that I'm going to show you at the end of this video as well will be exercises that you can do at home as well, and that I can do at home as well without any type of equipment. All of the things that you're seeing here behind me, I don't really need those things. Of course, I'm going to hopefully integrate them at some point in the future again, but at the moment, because I'm not as strong as I used to be, I am doing all just body weight exercises. But here are really my biggest takeaways. What is really, really important is that you are moving your body. If you are having a desk job, if you are sitting all day long, you are shortening your psoas. This is really important. So your hip flexor is basically shortened and your psoas muscle is attached to the hip. It's not only that you might be experiencing back issues, maybe you're experiencing hip issues, maybe it's always popping or it's feeling really weird when you're moving your hip, or you're feeling really stiff when you're getting up. That is the psoas that is attached to all of these different muscles and that is trying to keep everything together but is having a hard time to do it. So really, really important, the psoas muscle. Make sure that you read a little bit more about it. The psoas muscle is such an amazing muscle in your body that is doing so many different things, and it is really important that you know what you need to do. And one of the first things is movement in general, right? Because you are sitting probably all day long, not only at your desk, but also in your car. And generally, we are not moving as much as we should be, right? So I'm really trying now to move an hour in the morning and 1 to 2 hours in the evening to get at least 2 to 3 hours of movement in every day, which I know sounds a lot, but it doesn't have to be exercise. It can be walking, it can be swimming, it can be just being outside and being in an upright position instead of always having that psoas shortened because you are sitting, you're maybe lying on the couch or sitting on the couch and you're sitting in your car. And now you might be wondering, well, if you've learned all of these different things over the last 2 or 3 years, why did you have a back issue again this summer? Well, that's very simple to answer because I had a back issue again because I still didn't focus on my strength exercises. So I've been doing a lot of cardio. I've been running a lot over the last 3 months. I've been doing a lot of biking, mountain biking and road biking. I've been doing some yoga and stretching, but I haven't focused on strength training. So the short answer is that my muscles still were not strong enough and were still imbalanced because over the last 3 years, I haven't gotten back to actually strengthen these muscles. And I had to be very honest with myself 10 days ago when I did have that issue again and when my back pain came back super, super badly, that I still haven't done the right things. And my muscles started to get really, really tight from all of these other exercises that I was doing, but I was still imbalanced. So I was basically just reinforcing that imbalance in my body over the last couple of weeks and months. And of course, even if I felt my back pain a little bit, I was like, oh, I know it's the psoas. And my fiance released it a few times for me because it's a really, really difficult muscle to release. Usually you have to go to somebody like a PT or massage therapist to really get the psoas released. It's really painful. And it's really interesting because now that I know that it is the psoas muscle that is tight, I can actually feel it in my body when it is starting to get really, really tight. I can feel it running as well because sometimes it feels like it's just really, really tight in my stomach area. And I feel like I really need to stretch the psoas or release the psoas. But at the end of the day, the reason why I hurt myself again was that my muscles were still not strengthened and they weren't really activated. And every time I do not activate my glutes, every time I do not activate my muscles in my legs, then my psoas is doing all the work. Hence, creating this imbalance and pulling that spine away or pulling the spine closer and tighter together, creating those back issues and that back pain. A lot of people have never heard about the psoas, just like me before. And so it's really, really interesting to get into that. There's also different psoas muscle releaser tools at this point. I've never tried them before, but I will probably try them. And it's just super fascinating. So now you might be wondering, okay, so what's next, right? So now you have heard my whole story. Sorry for talking for a very long time about this story. I hope you found this interesting. But what do I do now, right? So 10 days ago, I hurt my back super badly again, wake surfing. I did a wrong movement and all of a sudden I had this worst excruciating pain that shot in my lower left back. I knew exactly what was going on this time. Fortunately, I knew that it was my psoas, that I have to get it released and that I need to invest more time in warming up and strength training in order to make sure that if I am exercising, that I'm using the correct muscle groups in order to support my body and not destroy it. And you can do the same thing. And I think the most important thing that I want you to take away from today is movement in general, that physical exercise is super, super important for your peak performance levels. It is really important that you're moving your body. It is really important that you're taking care of yourself because nobody else will do it for you. You need to get back into a better routine. Because if your back is hurting, it is a sign from your body that something is not going the way it's supposed to be going. And it is something that we are oftentimes ignoring, but if we are starting to pay attention, we actually have to do something, right? So as promised, I want to show you a couple of different exercises that you can do in order to start strengthening your body in a really simple way. Again, you don't need any equipment. Again, I am not a PT, I'm not a doctor. If you're doing these exercises, it's on your own responsibility. I am not liable if you're doing something wrong. I just want to show you a couple of different things that you can do super, super easily and that will definitely help you. So I'm going to show you some really basic exercises. All of these exercises you can do at home with your body weight. You don't need any weights in order to do them. And they're really simple: squats, lunges, glute bridges, and then also some side planks with some movements of your legs in order again to strengthen and activate your glute muscles. Super simple and so effective. And here is kind of the success story, right? Maybe that's all you have been waiting for. So 10 days ago, I hurt my back again. It was really bad. I was in really bad pain for 2 days. And this time I actually chose to take painkillers because I wanted to get the inflammation out of my muscles as quickly as possible. And because I don't take any painkillers ever, they work really well for me, which is amazing. So I took some ibuprofen for 2 days, for only 2 days, and then I stopped them in order to just help that initial pain. And then 2 days later, I went to see my PT and she released my psoas. She helped me kind of figure out some movements, the movements that I'm showing you in the next couple of seconds here. And 10 days later, I am back. I am running again, I am moving again. I do still feel some slight pain when I'm sitting because sitting is not a good exercise for me. Obviously, it's shortening my psoas muscle, and I'm very fortunate that I have a standing desk in my office as well in order to work in an upright position and not have to be sitting. I can't believe how well I'm feeling after such a short period of time. And I asked my PT, of course, being super worried when I can start working out again or how long I should be waiting until I get back into all of my different routines that I had created over the last 2 or 3 months. And she said to me, movement is life. You need to get back on the horse as quickly as possible. And that's what I did. And again, I cannot believe how well I'm feeling already after such a short period of time. This could be the same reason that you have as well. It could be a different reason. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a PT. I have obviously not seen the issues that you have. So make sure, of course, that you're getting professional help and that you're checking different things out. The psoas is just one reason why your back might be hurting, but it's a really good one to explore because 99% of people have a tight psoas, at least that's what my PT is saying. So it's a really interesting muscle to explore, a really interesting muscle to get familiar with. And of course, then to remind yourself as well that you should be activating especially your glutes and your quadriceps, which is your main front muscle in your leg, in order to help you really support the exercises that you're doing. So thank you so much for watching this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and make sure that you head over to my YouTube channel as well, where you can learn more peak performance tools in order to thrive at work and in your personal life. Thank you so much for watching today. With gratitude, Julia.